So, we're in a different cave today because this isn't a regular episode of The Cave. This is a cave chat. Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Cave. This is Kris.
And I'm Randy.
As you can tell, we're not in the normal cave today. We're in a different cave because we're doing something different. We're chatting about collecting and collecting experiences and different stuff. Me and Randy got a convention coming up that we're going to in a couple weeks. The ICCC Con. It's a great guest list with great vendors. You're going to see a lot of great friends there.
Yeah, it's going to be a long trip too there.
It is going to be a long trip.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to get some cool footage on the way there and some footage of the show?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're going to drive from Texas to Tennessee.
So
Yeah.
Me and him have been having a debate about this. My GPS says it's 9 hours and 59 minutes. So I say with a couple of stops for gas and food, we're looking at 12 hours. He's looking at some other GPS. I don't know what it is.
The real one.
That says 15 hours. Now, I've looked at two different GPSs that say from my house it's 9 hours and 59 minutes. But if he's going from his house, it is about another hour. So I could see how 9 hours and 59 minutes could turn into 11 hours. And then maybe they could change different based on paths, because it might be taking him a different path than we would take from my house.
Yeah, we also got to think about gas and brakes and eating and
Yeah. So
and all that fun stuff. All the stopping.
I've kind of mapped out our trip so that it'll be pretty easy, because not all trips go that way. You know, a couple years ago, you remember when we went to Pensacon?
Yeah.
And I called everybody at 7:00 the night before the show and said, "Hey, get your ass to my house. I got this crazy idea." And everybody got there and they said, "Well, what's your crazy idea?" "We're going right now." We just loaded up and went. I am the king of bad ideas.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah, we had, it was 10 hours. It wasn't bad.
And see, they said that was supposed to be 12 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was because I was driving.
Well, that is true.
Yeah. I was talking to one of my friends. His name's Scott Smith. Well, anyway, he's like, I want to go to a trip. And I told him I was that we were driving. He's like, I'd rather fly. And I was like, well, if I was driving, we would be flying.
That is true.
It's true.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about this trip made me start thinking about
Dukes of Hazzard.
Well, no, I don't
know. Yeah,
I was thinking
we've already done that. Yeah.
I was thinking more about like Cannonball Run, but you know, whatever.
Right. I don't have a Lamborghini that I can just change the colors by washing it off.
Well, I don't think we have Roger Moore either.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could, but that'd be a morbid. Yeah.
I mean,
it's a little weird.
I did get his autograph once.
Yeah.
I did get his
Did
autograph
you get to
once. So funny story. I was up on the East Coast for something else, and Roger Moore was doing a book signing. We didn't get into the signing, but I saw him with my own two eyes from outside the bookstore.
Oh, very nice.
That was, that was, I don't know, 15 years ago or more. He had a book called My Word is My Bond, I believe, and he was signing those. It was a pretty cool day.
We've had a lot. We've had a lot of shows and stuff that is well, not shows. Those what I call smash and grab autograph opportunities, where you know where they're gonna be, and and all that.
We have, and
Yeah, and then we've had the ones where we got to see. Like on me, I know you got to meet Steve Martin before, but I got to see him. I didn't get his autograph.
so my Steve Martin experience was pretty cool. We didn't think we were going to get him either.
Right.
And then the tour bus pulled up. He was playing with his band. He plays banjo.
Yeah.
Uh, kind of an interesting instrument to pick, but I
Mhm.
mean, he's really good at it. And he just came out and he was like, line up everybody. I'll sign one per person. And he signed everybody's stuff.
Yeah, he told me I couldn't possibly sign this much stuff.
Well, you know,
I mean, with the meet and
sometimes
greet and all that other stuff, you
sometimes
can't blame
people
him.
have different days. You were unfortunate in the fact that there was a meet and greet. When I saw him, there wasn't a meet and greet. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just something that you just got to contend with. But, got a lot of cool stories. But
On this convention, though. Yeah. Yeah, on our convention. Yeah,
you want to talk about the convention, or you want to talk about past conventions?
Oh, we can't. Let's do that. Let's dive into that.
So, pick your favorite convention story of all time. Autograph, or not getting an autograph, or photo op, or maybe somebody showed up that you didn't think was going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I've done so many. That's we run into this where we've been to so many conventions, Kris.
We have.
I liked. It was called Alamo City Comic Con. I liked it. I met Arnold Schwarzenegger there, Rick Moranis. I mean, they had a lot of good guests. It was really stacked. I think the next convention they had Michael Keaton.
Yeah. How'd that Schwarzenegger signing turn out? It was a little bit better than what you thought. Like, they promised one thing, but then they delivered something completely different.
Yeah. So the way it went is I don't think the big packages sold like they were supposed to, because I mean there were upwards like, I think it was like what, $1,450 or something.
I think they were $1,200 plus tax, so that ends up about being around the $1,400 mark.
And I mean it came with a VIP pass, and then you got all 3 days of the show off, and you got this escalator that you could take, just really cool. It had some perks and all that kind of stuff, but at the show, when I got there, they told me that, look, they had to sell photo ops to the open public. So I ended up, they said, hey, you can get an extra Arnold Schwarzenegger autograph instead of just one. So I ended up getting 2. Well, I actually brought 2 posters with me just in case, that an opportunity like that would come up.
And then you got a photo.
Yeah. Oh, also, yeah. It came with the photo op. Yeah.
But now, I know that some places have limits on how many people are in a photo. Did you have to take a photo by yourself, or did you get to? Did anybody get to join you?
Yeah, my son could jump in, and his girlfriend could jump in as well. Yeah,
that would be a pretty cool father-son experience.
Oh, it was. Yeah. And when I walked up to him, he did the predator handshake, the little pah, and he did the same thing to my son. Yeah, he was so cool, man. He's a really nice guy.
That's the cool thing about conventions and meeting some of these people, is they give you a memory that you'll have for the rest of your life. And sometimes money can't buy that. So,
true. Yeah. I mean, like the time we met Bill Murray, he was walking by, and I was the first person he walked up to. He did the old fake handshake thing and then shook the guy's hand next to me.
Well, so now let's give him some backstory on that.
Yeah.
Bill Murray had been signing all year long for hurricane relief at all the appearances he was making.
Mm-hmm.
And people really took advantage of him, and he got fed up. Well, Randy, you had the misfortune of being the very first person in line.
Yeah.
And he stuck his hand out to shake your hand, but you had a marker.
Yeah.
So he thought you were wanting an autograph and went to the very next. It really was a missed opportunity, because if we would have been smart, we probably could have still had somebody snapping photos
Mm-hmm.
and kind of had our photo with him.
Yeah.
But
The only
that's
picture I got was a photo with Bud as he's walking away.
But that's the thing, is you have to be quick on your feet, and you have to learn to react at a moment's notice, because something can change, and something that you think was going to happen might not happen, and something that you didn't think was going to happen could happen.
Mm-hmm. Kevin Bacon. I showed up at the venue, and he walked outside and, hey, you want some, you got something for me to sign? I was like, yeah, I do, and he's like, well, come on over here. Took a picture with me, signed my item. Gracious guy. He signed for everybody, talked to him.
Yeah. I've heard that about Kevin before. Another friend of mine saw him in Lubbock, and he actually walked past him several times, and then he came out and he said, "Hey man, you've been here a while. Are you waiting for me?" And he says, "Yeah, I was going to try to get an autograph." And he says, "Well, here, let me come on over and sign for you." And he signed, and he took pictures with him, and it was really great. Kevin's one of the really good ones. He's a really great guy, very down to earth.
Somebody was surprised. I mean, extremely. Al Pacino. Meeting Al Pacino. I was surprised that he signed for us. I really am.
He did sign for us. It was a very interesting situation. This was before he did his private signings.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know anything about street signings, sometimes a street signing, or what Randy likes to call a run and gun,
Mm-hmm.
are usually a signature done standing up, and perhaps the item has some sort of a cardboard or something behind it, so it's got some structure, but it's not the same as a sit down signing at a table.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because Randy got a really nice signature. I would say it was a really nice signature.
Oh yeah.
And it says Al.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how some of his street signings are, but we saw a lot of other people's signings that were
infinity
X's and dots and infinity symbols. And I think he had gotten angry or fed up or something. And but
I mean,
yours was one of the very first ones.
Yeah. I mean, they've got all those autograph hound guys that, are trying to make a living, whatever. I'm not a fan of the paparazzi whatsoever. I think they're the ones that are really hurting
the autograph hounds and the paparazzi do hurt a lot.
Yeah.
I believe, and I strongly suggest, as collectors, collect what you love.
Mm-hmm.
Collect what you're going to hang in your cave, or your living room, or your dining room, or your office, wherever. Collect what you're going to set on a shelf and love for years and tell your children about and tell stories at parties for, because you shouldn't do it because of what it's worth.
No.
You should really do it because you love it.
And Keanu Reeves right behind you. What was that, 3-4 months ago?
No, that was further than that.
Really?
That was
I know,
November last year.
Really? Yeah. We waited in that parking lot, and I looked like a Whopper.
It was November last year.
Grill marks, except they're red.
He actually signed these great, perfect signatures, signed for about 300 people.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't think that was going to happen. We didn't think that was going to happen at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I heard, he was when he was touring across the U.S. that he was signing for everybody on there, and I think here recently he got upset, at some of the autograph hound guys
So
because
there's one specific story. I know the one you're referring to.
yeah.
Um,
Now this is
he
a lot more recent than that other one. This is like in the past couple of weeks.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, then this has to have happened again.
yeah.
If y'all don't know, a couple of months ago, while Keanu was touring, he spent the day going around the city hanging out, and there was this group of autograph hounds. I call them hounds because they're not collectors. They were truly getting as many as they could, probably with the intent to sell or trade. Um, and some of these guys even have a client
Which
list.
I'm not exactly saying that's it's wrong, but when you're just hounding them to death, and then plus you just want more. You want more. You want more. You take. You
Well,
take. You
that
take.
that was what happened.
It's
That was what
ridiculous.
happened in this case.
Yeah.
Is finally Keanu turned to one of the gentlemen, and he told him no more. And the guy said, "I understand, but could you maybe just do one more?" And Keanu just looked the guy dead in the face and told him he was a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, because we're in the day and age of cell phones, and people got video cameras that are better than the studios by now, somebody got it on record and sent it to TMZ.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that. And that could maybe make it where Keanu never signs again, because Keanu is one of those great people that he absolutely does not value his signature at all.
Yeah.
He's been offered tons of money to do private signings and turned it down.
Yep.
Turned it down. I think of stuff like that, and I think of a couple of different situations where I was maybe dealing with somebody that didn't value their signature, or they don't like to do private signings. Recently, I had the great fortune of meeting John Dykstra and Richard Edlund at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts Museum in Hollywood, California. And
I feel like you took me on that trip with you too. That was really cool because he was sending me pictures and stuff like that as it was going on.
I did, and I wish I
Yeah.
would have taken
Me with you? Yes, I do too. Yeah, yes, sir.
I know you do. I know you do. That was a very special trip.
Yeah,
And
it's fantastic.
it had some unexpected opportunities that chances are you'll never see again.
Mm-hmm. You seen Lauren Peterson
As
at Lucasfilms?
as I was saying, no. I saw Lauren Peterson
At Skywalker
at
Ranch.
3210 Studios.
Whoa. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
But back to
Yeah.
Ben Edlund, or Richard Edlund, and John Dykstra, they don't sign. Dykstra's done a couple of private signings, but he doesn't go to conventions. Neither does Richard Edlund. Richard Edlund isn't even currently taking visitors at the studio. And I had the great pleasure of getting to sit with them at the cafe and talk with them and take pictures and get some stuff signed. And sitting with them was an even rarer opportunity that I never thought I'd meet in my entire life. the great John Knoll.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Hey, tell these people if they don't know who that is. What did these guys do?
so
Like John Dykstra. Start with him.
John Dykstra invented a camera called the Dykstra Flex. That's actually why he was at the museum. They were exhibiting his camera. And the Dykstra Flex is what filmed the dogfight scenes in the original Star Wars, because they didn't know how they were going to film it.
Yeah, they even used it on the canyon scene. For
They did
the Death
use it.
Star.
Yeah, they used it for all those scenes, and
It revolutionized.
it revolutionized the way films were made. And basically, it was the brainchild of John Dykstra, Richard Edlund, and another unsung hero named Alvin Miller. They all figured out how to use this camera and the angles and the way to turn it and everything. And oddly enough, the camera is named after John Dykstra. But Alvin Miller, because he had a degree, I believe, from MIT, got paid more by Lucasfilm than Dykstra or Edlund. It wasn't massively more, but he got paid a couple more dollars per week than them because of his degree. That was a funny story that I heard. And these guys were great. Now, on to John Knoll. If you have messed with a computer or watched a movie in the past 32 years, you have probably been affected by John Knoll. This is a very quiet man. He takes some interviews, but not a lot of people know much about him because he does not like being in the limelight. He does not think of himself as the way we do, where he's a hero. In fact, he was a little standoffish when we took our photos together. He was happy to take them with me, but he seemed like he didn't feel like he deserved that kind of notoriety. But John Knoll created Photoshop, which in turn was used on The Abyss, Jurassic Park, Terminator 2, I think Star Trek Generations, and then he escalated to a higher title in which he worked on episodes 1, 2, and 3, and then became an executive at Lucasfilm, overseeing most of the films, and even overseeing and writing part of Rogue One. And that was a great experience that I never thought would happen. And it just literally happened on the fly. A buddy of mine looked at me. His name was Spencer. He runs a big group called the Virtual Cantina Group. And he said, "Hey, John Dykstra and John Knoll are down at the museum right now." And that's when I got to go over and meet them. And that was great.
Yeah, that was fantastic of him. Yeah.
He really was. We're actually going to get to interview him in a couple weeks at the convention here in Tennessee. He'll get to tell us all about the virtual cantina and some different events they have planned for the future. They're a really amazing group. I believe 69,000 followers. And that's just amazing.
That's fantastic.
Are
Are there Echo Base guys going to be there? Or?
Well, Echo Base are in London,
Well, okay.
or they're in the UK. They're not actually in London. They're about 2 hours outside of London.
Huh.
They actually, they hold their own conventions over in the UK called Echo Base Live. They hold those a couple times a year. Theirs are themed. They did a Hoth one time.
Oh,
and,
you know.
and
Some of the people they've had attend.
well, when they had the Hoth one was great because they had Chris Parsons.
Was Julian Glover there?
Julian Glover was there.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And he was there with a very rare signer, Paul Jericho, the only living AT driver.
Mm.
They had...
Was it Chris Parsons?
Yeah. Chris Parsons
he was
there.
he was a snow trooper, not just Forlon Zuckus.
Yeah. And Alan Austin was there. There was a big grouping. Oh, Jack McKenzie was there.
Hey, and while I'm at it, I've got to say this. If anybody knows who else other than Richard Boonhill that was a TIE fighter pilot, please let us know. Comment. I know there's got to be more than just one.
I hate to correct you, Randy. I hate to correct you, but his name
is Bone.
Is Richard Bonehill.
Bonehill, yeah. What I said, Boone.
Yes. And a lot of people don't know this about him. Interesting fact about Richard Bonehill. He was a renowned fencer.
Really?
Yes. No, he didn't build fences.
Yeah, unlike what we've done.
Yeah, we built fences.
And it was bad.
We can talk about that story later.
Oh, it was something else.
That's really not a story for the cave.
No, it's not a cave story.
Perhaps on one of our other channels.
So late night bipolar story.
Yes. No, he was a fencer like Bob Anderson, who trained them for the Darth Vader scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a fencer. In fact, he was the president of the fencing club in the UK when he passed away.
And also a snow trooper as well.
He was a snow trooper.
Mm-hmm.
He was a snow trooper. And a lot of people don't know, he was also knee and numb.
No.
Now, there were several people that played knee and numb, so let me kind of clarify. He was knee and numb in the war room scenes when Mon Mothma and General Madine and Admiral Akbar were explaining to everybody what they were going to do in the Battle of Endor. He was not knee and numb in the cockpit with Billy D. Williams. That was Mike Quinn.
Yeah.
And that was voiced by an African gentleman. No, not African American. African. Because he spoke a different language.
Mm-hmm.
So there were several people that played knee and numb. But as for your question, Randy, they believe that all of the actors that played TIE fighter pilots are dead. Now, you could have people that designed the TIE fighter, like Lauren Peterson.
Yeah.
Or Joe Johnston. And you could have somebody that sculpted the helmet.
Yeah. Kind of like, well, at this convention, Brian Murr.
Well,
Interesting
enough, you should bring that up. The TIE Fighter helmet is actually a combination of the Stormtrooper helmet,
yeah, and the X-Wing pilot.
And the X-Wing pilot. And we should really ask Brian about that, about if he sculpted that or if a gentleman named Andrew Ainsworth was completely responsible, or if Andrew Ainsworth simply just cast it for the production.
Yeah. I know he didn't do the helmet on the Stormtrooper. He did the armor. He did the actual, the armor pieces. The chest and legs and arms and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, Brian?
Yeah, Brian Muir.
Brian was working on the Stormtrooper with a young lady that was also a sculptor that died during production.
Oh,
So that'll be interesting. Hopefully we might get to interview him. He has set aside some time for us very graciously. Just an amazing individual with such a great body of work.
Yeah.
And the fact that he even granted us any of his time is amazing. We'll see what we can get as an interview in the future for a future episode.
Yeah, if you don't know who Brian is, he's the one that sculpted Vader's helmet. Like I said, Stormtrooper armor. He did some finishing work on C-3PO.
He did the CZ3.
CZ3.
And he also did the Death Star droid.
Death Star droid, yeah.
As well as he worked on... Did you know he worked on Alien?
He worked on Alien and Willow.
Yeah. Very talented man with a long career.
Mm-hmm. So Rogue One, I think, is he retired? Because looking on IMDb, I seen Rogue One was that's the last thing that he's done.
He's not retired. I believe he's retired from sculpting.
Yeah.
But he attends many conventions and he's a guest speaker.
Mm-hmm.
If y'all can ever get a chance to meet this man, I highly suggest it. If any of y'all are going to ICCC Con, I highly suggest at least going by and saying hi, getting an 8x10 signed, asking him a question. This man... Oh, we talked about everybody. Did you say Darth Vader?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Darth Vader. This man sculpted Darth Vader.
I mean, that's
one of only two people related to Darth Vader that's still alive.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, we could talk on and on, but
you can't.
We should probably save some of that for another cave chat.
Yeah.
And
hopefully we can give you some stuff from the trip, on the way to the show, on the way home, and some in the in-betweens, all the in-between stuff, maybe get the sight and sounds of the show, and then hopefully we'll get us some interviews too. That's going to be pretty cool.
We'll see. Let's not promise interviews. We don't know what we're going to get, but
I'm going to try.
I do know some of these people are very generous, and they talk to me on a semi-regular basis, so hopefully they'll be willing to donate a couple of minutes of their time, for that new segment that we're going to start.
Mm-hmm. You're going to do a five
questions with Kris.
Yeah, 5 questions with Kris.
And hopefully that goes well.
Yeah, should be fun.
So tune in next week for another episode of the Cave. We'll be back to our regular programming. Have a good night.
Yeah.
And
Peace,
don't
y'all.
forget, whatever you collect it because you love it.
I like that little extra there.